Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. Today we got a video coming off the heels of Canvas Envision's latest release, R5.7. Wanted to put together a little video to highlight a new feature set coming from this release that we're very excited about. It's called Gadgets. Um, for today's video, I'm going to spend a little time explaining what gadgets are, how to use them, and from the creator side of things, and then show a few examples of how to apply them in a workflow. So jumping right in here, what are gadgets? Gadgets are a new feature set that includes a new object type that can be inserted into documents. These gadgets leverage the web-based nature of Envision. So as we've been developing our product, really going from kind of what a traditional document is and trying to move more towards maybe a web app with all the functionality that can come with being web-based. So gadgets utilize Envision's API set, but brings it in a low code, no code manner, making it really easy for our users to use it without having to have a background in coding like some of our APIs require in the past. So gadgets add a further interactivity to documents, improving both the consumption experience and the accuracy of the execution of these instructions that you make inside Envision. So going to help with quality outcomes for sure. Some of it's going to help creators creating this content, kind of automating some of that. So we'll see it as we jump through here. There's a couple different types, but to start with the overview here on how to use them on the creator side. So getting started with these, we're going to just insert it like we would any other type of media inside Envision. If we go under the Insert tab here, you'll see it here. The Gadgets has a new button with a drop down list of seven or so different ones in here that can be used. Once we do that, you'll be able to go to a gadgets toolbar that you see highlighted down here. You'll see some different options, kind of pertaining to these gadgets. One of those context aware menus, same as like the 3D. When you click on a 3D, you get the 3D tab. If you click on a gadget, you'll get the gadget tab. So I'll highlight that as we step through these. But in this, you'll see some basic customization that you can do with it. A theme color. So we have a couple different presets of colors that you can use on these gadgets throughout the document. Typically, we'll see kind of some continuity throughout a document of people using the same color theme. So once you select it, the future ones will be using that theme once you insert them. Outlines, backgrounds, things like that. On mine, you'll see typically they have no background, and I've created a custom shape in the background just to give my document a very cohesive feel, make everything look the same, but by no means have to do that. You'll also see a configure button here. That's how we configure the gadgets. Each one has a couple different options to help kind of tweak the functionality just to how you like it. So we'll see that as well as we jump in here. So for the first gadget, we have the progress bar. You'll see this actually alongside the bottom of this document that I'm using right here. Really just there to provide a visual representation of where someone is in the document. This was a very popular request to give people an idea of how far they've come in the document, how far they have yet to go. Really easy to do, but kind of live updates to each page, this progress bar as you click through the document. There's a couple different options with this one as well. If we click on these, you'll see this gadget menu up here at the top now. If I hit this configure button, you'll see some of these options. So we've got a starting page option starting here at the top. This is what page you want the navigation to start on, or the page count, whatever it may be. You'll see the show navigation button. So you can, on this top one here, you'll see next and previous page. Those can be added in to help navigate throughout the document, and the show the navigation range. So that is this, one of 7 pages here. Obviously, if I start on page 2 or 3, you'll have a different count, kind of ignoring some of the front matter at the document as well. So really fun to use. I'll show all of these gadgets kind of in a consumption experience later on as we get to the end of highlighting each of these gadgets. I'll go into kind of how they're applied in the document as well. So second one, table of contents. This one's really user friendly. It really automates a lot of stuff on the creator side of things. When people are creating these pages over here through the page navigator like normal, typically to do this in the past, you would have to create a table, type out the text, create page actions for each one if you wanted it to be active. So this is actually an automated table. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll see all the page names populate in from the page navigator where you can name pages. On the customization here on the configuration, you can change the title at the top and then what page things start at, as well as show or hide page numbers. So some of these start on page 4. That's an example of setting that starting page number. Down here at the bottom, you have the page numbers hidden. But the consumption experience is being able to click on this, any one of these pages, and jump directly to that. So very, very user friendly there. We see a lot of people very excited about this one. The next one is the parts list. So this is kind of another automated table, really similar to a bill of materials. It pulls in content for the table directly from the 3D model on the page. So I've got a 3D model living here. This table automatically gets connected to that. You've got a couple different columns here: part number, description, and quantity. This is pulling directly from that metadata in the 3D model. So you can actually map this part number and description fields to specific metadata properties. A couple different options. You can hide, or you can include, or choose not to, ghosted and hidden parts. And then one other thing you can do with this is actually allow the ordering of parts. We're calling it an order parts list. So this will add a checkbox to the table, as well as a button at the top, where once the parts are selected on the consumption side, it will create an email, an order email, being sent to this email address. You can set that ahead of time. So this is great for parts catalogs and stuff like that. If people want to, use the 3D model to get a sense of what part they're ordering, making sure they're getting the right one, and then generating that email to send to customer service representative, a sales representative, whoever it may be. Feel free to set that, as the creator of the document. The next one is an action button. This is really kind of, creating a simple button with an action tied to it. We have seen things in the past in our tool with the action tab up here. You will see some overlap there with setting page actions, but I've created 3 buttons here. One is next page. It simply does as you'd expect, going to the next page in the document. You can also set a confirmation dialog or a checklist dialog. We call these friction elements inside kind of the execution of these documents. So purposely making people stop and slow down and confirm something, or confirm a checklist. Maybe it's, confirming an update to this document. Maybe it's a checklist, making sure they've got their PPE on, and that it's, done and assured before they start going through the rest of the document. Great come audit time when people are asking, how do you know to make sure that people have this equipment on? So these are great. This configuration window is probably one of the more complex you'll see in here, but the first one here is just what text shows up on the button itself. So I've got next page here. You'll see that on the button. 3 different size fonts. Sometimes buttons get bigger. We wanted to just add some different font sizes there. Behavior of the action button. This is where you'll choose between just a simple button, a confirmation dialog, or a checklist. And then actually you can choose what action happens after any one of those action. So you can go next page, previous page, or just simply close the confirmation dialog and rely on maybe the navigation bar to choose the next page. But for the confirmation, you can set the title of it, what you want people to be confirming, and then you can create these lists. If you're just on the confirmation one, it just uses this one and doesn't have checklists to check on. But I'll show a great example of this when we jump into the example as well. The next set, we've put 2 together here. We're calling them timers, basically counting time both ways, counting down and counting up. We've got the countdown timer and the stopwatch. So these provide a timer for reference in the document. We see them used a number of different ways. The countdown timer is great for time-based processes like glue drying, or potentially even indicating cycle time for a given step. But having that timer right there in there, that somebody can start this timer, watch the time, to make sure that whatever process is time-based is fully completed before going to the next step. The stopwatch continually counts up throughout the document. kind of giving a reference to how much time you spent on it. You are able to put these on every page of the document and actually tie them together with a global setting. So if you're starting that countdown timer or the stopwatch and then moving throughout the document, you'll see that timer come to an end as you go throughout the document. So a cool setting there that allows things to kind of persist page to page in the document. The next one, and probably the big meat of the update here, is data capture. This one is very customizable. It's got a lot of people excited. We've been working on this for a little while, trying to come up with the best way to do it, and we ended on this data capture. So this data capture gadget on the consumption side creates these input fields where the user can input data and it be captured into a database in the Envision backend. From this database, you can query this data and push it via webhook to other systems. Maybe it's being measurement data set to a QMS system. Maybe it's an ERP system where you're capturing serial numbers or something like that. A lot of flexibility. You could even do this, as a feedback or a questionnaire area. But a lot of great customization in this as well. So you'll see the gadget title here. This is what shows up at the top up here. The gadget name is actually used more on the database backend, being able to clearly see what information came from this gadget. So that's what you'll see on the backend. And from here, you'll have the ability to add new fields. This check marks assigns them to this gadget. This is actually a global table to the document. So if you have different data capture gadgets throughout the document, they'll all reference this list. They can be used on more than one gadget right now for some overlap. Your data won't overlap because there's always a unique ID with the gadget themselves to help separate it. But you've got some options here as you add in fields, a unique ID. This can kind of help identify it on the back end of the database. The data name is obviously what shows up here. So measurement 1, measurement 2, serial number, feedback, whatever you need to do. You can limit what's inputted here. So we've got alphanumeric or numeric. Suffix is great for measurements, putting those units on what you expect the measurement to be in. Here I've got inch pounds for torque or millimeters for just a simple measurement. And then you've also got placeholder text that you can put in to kind of give the user an idea of what sort of input they're looking for. Here, the serial number, you've got where the dashes would be, the feedback, type right here to leave it. Just some stuff to help kind of make it clearer on the back end of what's expected for the input. So we'll delete that one there. This one really, really unique, and we're very excited about it. But the last gadget is login gadget. This actually kind of pertains to that data capture one we just did. So typically we see this going at the front of the document. It can actually lock navigation in the document, kind of forcing people to do this, fill out these fields before continuing into the document. We've got two fields here that can be customized on what they say, but we've got user ID and work order here. Really, these kind of set a reference point for all the data captured in the document to be queried against. So if you wanted to tie everything that you do throughout the document to a specific work order, you would be able to query this data and kind of send it as a batch, queried against that and see everything that happened in the document start to finish rather than just, on a per data capture gadget format. So this kind of ties everything together. And it is very, very useful there. So that is an overview of all the gadgets. I'm going to jump over to a few examples here of how they're used, and we can go through some of that. But this is our first example here. This is assembly instructions for a product. So think in the manufacturing floor, it being used to guide the assembly worker to put this product together. So here you'll see that login gadget that I mentioned. I do have a next page here, but I don't necessarily need this if I wanted to lock navigation. You'll see up here in the left-hand corner, the typical page navigator and buttons to navigate the pages are locked until I fill this out. So I will fill this out with a user ID and a work order. Today we'll just use today's date. and we can submit that. That will actually take us to the next page and unlock this page navigation for going through the document. Second page here, very common table of contents. You'll see all these are kind of highlight as I hover over them, the table of contents being the page I'm on. You are able to click on any of these and jump to them. So I will jump to the next page from here. And this is where we start getting into some of the data capture. So one of the common questions we had for our product was, can I capture data through this? I'm looking for specifics on what it takes to put this product together and ensure its quality. A lot of times that means measurements or test data. So here you'll see torque values that you can enter. You've got expected value highlighted over here on the left-hand side in the text. But typing in here, we got this one right. This one is very, very close, likely within tolerance. So once you click to the next field, you will see a check mark highlighted here saying that the data has been captured as well. The other part of this is a stopwatch. I mentioned this is kind of just a reference for how long you're spending in the document. I'll go ahead and start this on this page as we go through this, but you could do this, right when you start the page. Moving to the next page, you will see the stopwatch actually live update here. So this is the global setting that I was talking about that kind of persists across page to page. If you wanted to put this on every page to give people an idea of how long they're spending on it, very, very helpful here. Another data capture field here is serial number and rev number. So very common in kind of this digital thread term that we're seeing in the industry today is knowing all the components and everything that goes into a finished product and being able to track that. So capturing serial numbers of, in this case, a solenoid as we go through here. We'll just put something basic in here with the revision, revision 3, capture that data as well. Next page, you'll see more of this, some more screw torques. We've got a lot of great options in here. From here, I'll jump ahead for us, going through this. Some more PCB serial numbers. This is very cool. Kind of being able to trace your product back to individual components if something goes wrong, and kind of find that root cause analysis of where things came from. Also on this page, you'll see down here for the next button, this is actually an action button. In this case, it creates a confirmation dialog pop-up. So in this case, it's asking people to make sure that they've confirmed there's no gap between components. Over here, it says, make sure things are fully seated. Chances are you might have reached the required torque, but maybe it was a cross thread or something, so things weren't fully seated. So adding some friction into this document, making sure people stop, slow down, and make sure that it was completed correctly. And then just hitting confirm here will take us to the next page. On this one, we've got a countdown timer. This is great. And here it's highlighting the epoxy set time. So we've got a connector in here that needs to be covered in epoxy to secure it, just so it doesn't come loose. This is highlighted here, just 1 minute, a quick set epoxy. You start this, it'll count down for you, and you can know when it's safe to move on from this step as well. So what else? I think that's pretty much it from this document. Here we've got up to 5 screws on one thing. Really, there's no limit. It just kind of comes down to a size and space of the page of the document. You could break these up into separate gadgets as well if you want to capture different steps as well. But capturing all this data and sending it back to the database and eventually on to your other system for storing and we'll call it visualizing if you want to do some of that data visualization. On my second example here, this is actually a customer guide. So this product comes partially assembled to the customer. This is assembly instructions for them to put the rest of it together. You'll see, and here, same type of thing, table of contents, maybe even more important here of being able to jump to the step you need. I will jump all the way to the end here to highlight one of them that we didn't go over, that being the parts list with the order capability. So here, this is a bilateral sync between these things. So if I actually click on any of these parts on the left-hand side, it will actually highlight in the 3D model. You'll see it enter 3D mode here. So I've got the base setup here, quantity 2. If I'm looking for replacement parts for this or something, I can also click on this part. I know this is what I'm missing, or maybe it's the spool holder up here. Maybe it's something, down here with the extrusion head as well. I can click on that. It'll highlight it here. And then if I click on this and hit order parts, it will generate an email for me to be able to send out to that parts ordering team there. So very, very cool functionality here. This is kind of the next step of bringing the documents to a web-based tool and not just a static, paper PDF where you have to bubble everything. In your bill of materials or tables like that, you can actually click and highlight this stuff and see exactly which part you're looking for. And the last thing I'll highlight is another great example of data capture. So feedback or questions. This is actually kind of taking that data capture and moving it to kind of a text prompt and asking people to enter feedback or questions. This could be sent to the customer success team or something like that for them to be able to reach out to that customer and figure out what's going on. So very, very helpful there. A lot of flexibility in these gadgets. We're very, very excited to see how people are using these gadgets. And of course, we're always open to feedback. So if you have any, feel free to visit us at canvasgfx.com. You'll be able to reach out to us there, and we're certainly open to feedback. Otherwise, if you're one of our existing customers, feel free to reach out to the sales team or your customer success representative. We'd be happy to work with you and take any feedback that you have for new stuff. So that's all for today. I really appreciate everyone joining in. Feel free again to ask us any questions, and we'll see you on the next time.